Or as you don't need a big following to start to get coaching clients. And the reason why is because your following is just a branch of your marketing. Okay, marketing is basically letting people know about your stuff. Okay, letting people know that you actually are in business and you are taking clients. So marketing can either be your content, it can be your cold outreach, which a lot of people have a lot of negative connotations with that, which are totally, in my opinion, wrong with it, and you have to overcome it. I'm going to talk about it in a second. And also you have the ads. Okay, I guess you also have the your network, people from school, family, stuff like that. So those are the four ways that you can market. Ads, I forgot to mention, but also people have a negative connotation with that, which I don't quite understand as well, and I'm gonna try to talk about it in a second more. So just have to understand that your following is just a branch of your marketing. Now, I don't know why people have a lot of negative connotation to towards cold outreach. Well, in a sense, I do know why, and it's because you're facing a lot of rejection, specifically in the early stages of building a cold outbound system, which is how it's called. A lot of people get rejected, and it's totally normal, but I think a lot of people get discouraged by that, and they don't want to do it ever again, and they just try to avoid it as much as possible, which I'm gonna talk about in a second. But that's the first thing I think is for the rejection. The second thing is ads, and I think a lot of people say that it's too expensive, right? It's too expensive and looks like a scam, right? Which is, in my opinion, not true, because with ads you're paying with money, with cold outreach and with content you're paying with time, all right? Or money, but for the time, or you're paying with money for your editors or whatever, and they are basically putting their time. Now, I'm gonna say this. I feel like, or I believe that we're right here on the side of the fence where we're thinking cold outreach sucks, it doesn't work, ads don't work, it's too expensive, right? Whereas there are other coaches, other online fitness coaches, specifically in your niche, who are dealing or targeting the same people, who are absolutely making fucking money. They're printing with cold outreach and running ads. It's like we're here in this fight of the fence, and they're right there inside the gold mine. They're just just getting the fucking gold, and they're just saying, oh yeah, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, guys, like don't come here, it sucks, right? And they're just getting all the fucking money there in the back. And so that's kind of how I feel about it. It's really about what type of marketing you want to run. Ideally, you will be going for all of them at the same time. Or maybe you start with content, you get it to a good level, then you continue with cold outreach, you get it to a good level, and then you continue with ads and you get it to a good level, and then from there you have a machine that can make you literally millions. I'm not kidding, literally millions. And this reminds me of the idea of how when I got first introduced to cold approaching women, how you can actually take a girl from a complete stranger to a girl who is in love with you and is your girlfriend. I remember thinking to myself, like, that doesn't work, like that's not true. Girls have to come to me, I'm not going to talk to them, they have to come to me, right? And I remember I was having that mindset, and now looking back, when I inevitably had to overcome this, I look back now to this and I realize that pretty much all of the interactions, or all of the relationships that I've gotten, or I've been in with beautiful women, have been from cold outreach. And it's just so clear that I just had to overcome the fear of rejection, in this case for cold outreach, or in this case for cold approaching, and I was going to get the results. But in the moment, it doesn't feel like that. So now that you're open-minded on the ads, or ads and content are not bad, they're not a scam, and that content is not the only solution to growing your coaching business. It's one of them, but it's not the only solution. Now I want to tell you other ways that you can grow your business, okay, with basically improving your marketing, which is going to in turn grow your business. Now, let me just first tell you that I don't have a lot of knowledge when it comes to ads. I haven't got to the point where I have mastered content or cold outreach. So ads, I'm still not at the point there, but I'm learning every day. But I'm just not feeling confident still to talk about it here on this channel. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about is mostly cold outreach, which is the way that I found the most success with when it comes to getting clients, or in this case, booking appointments and getting clients and all that, good stuff, right? So I'm going to tell you right now, I got this, my reward, I'm going to put it here in the editing process. So I'm going to go through this and I'm going to tell you the step-by-step that I took for working for a client, which is Ethan. Basically, this is a client of mine that I am basically in the process of getting him a client from full cold outreach. So let me show you right now how it works, okay? So first of all, step number one, before anything else, is building a list, okay, of prospects. So for this, you can either, scrape this from some platform that you by the leads. That's something that you can do. The thing that I found the most successful for me has been to always basically doing this manually, okay? So what I do is I just go to the pages of other creators that can be, for example, for business, because they mean that they have money, or for example, fitness, because they mean that, or it means that people that follow them or basically wanting to get in shape. Okay, so it depends a lot on your ICP. For example, for myself, I was working for Ethan, and we were talking about that entrepreneurs could be a good niche, because it could be they have the money to it or to do this. And usually young entrepreneurs now 25, 31, they are really into getting a good physique, right? So we're going for that niche. So I started following people or getting people from the Instagram profile, which is Alex Gonzalez, which is a crypto I think it's crypto or day trading, something like that. And I just went to the following of the people that he's following and the followers that he has, and I start to just go through this, start sorting to all of these leads. Okay, so of course you have to make sure that you have your standards on point really well. So how old are they, men, women, and then you start going through all of these lists, because if you're going to the way that we're going to do the outreach now is pretty high intent, pretty high effort. We don't want to waste our time doing outreach to people that probably will not buy. Okay, so we have to make sure that these actually are people who are ICP. Okay, so the second step is find a way to get out of the request box. So there's two main ways, which is number one, following them, and then they follow you back. Now your message is going to be out of the request box. Number two is that you can basically send them a message, an initial message, excuse me, and then when they reply, of course, in the first initial message, you're going to land in the request box either way. But with this message, if that sparks like a response and they reply to you, you're going to get out of the request box. And the third one is just sending the fucking Loom video or selfie video or pitch, basically straight up. And then if they watch it, fine. If they don't watch it, or if you don't see it, fine. Okay. So for the first one that I told you, of following them and then they follow you back, it doesn't really work a lot of times, because not all people or not everybody is going to tell you, or not everybody is going to follow you back. Okay, so for example, a very successful business owner is probably not going to follow you back if you're doing the cold outreach, right? At the same time, for example, if it's a B2C, which is the case for you as an online fitness coach, let's say you're following whatever entrepreneur, and you specifically for this strategy where you send them a message and they reply to you, it's mostly for B2B, where you come like a customer and then you say, hey, is this the right place to ask questions? They are basically obligated to say yes, because you might be a customer, right? But when they are they're not a business themselves, they're not obligated to reply to you, and they probably will not reply to you. Okay, and it's gonna be like weird, right? So the only thing that we have here left is basically sending them the message or something called a stimuli video, okay, which is going to trigger a response. So let me just read you what I wrote about the stimuli. Okay, so a stimuli video in this case is going to be a small piece of content or personalized content to test if they would be even a little interested in your solution. Okay, so for the smallest effort, you can get a lead. So if you get for more effort, like full Loom or a full selfie video, and they're not interested, then you waste your time. Okay, so if you go for less effort than this, then you go for a copy and paste kind of message, then they're probably not going to reply to you. Okay, so it's like a good balance here, where you're not putting too much effort or too little effort, and then you're having a good response here. Which people are interested, which people are not interested. Now, I want to make something very clear, and that is that the reason why we want to get out of the request box is not just for just getting out of the request box and that's it. The reason why, like the actual reason behind it, is because if we send the message to all the people who we're not in the request box, or we're still in the request box, a lot of those people will never see the message, will never see the pitch. All right, so first of all, we're wasting our time there. So that's the first reason. The second one is that if we do this of getting out of the request box first before anything else, then from there we know we are guaranteed that every single person who's going to see the message, or who, we got on the request box by, either of these ways, is guaranteed to see the pitch. All right. And something that is not extremely crucial, but can be a good indicator of that, or a good data point for your cold outreach, for your cold outbound system, is the amount of, from how many people watched or saw the pitch, how many of those actually showed interest. And that is a good sign of the, good database, or a good data point that you can start to, work on as you grow or you improve your cold outbound system. So in the ideal world, you're going to get out of the request box with every single person you're going to pitch. And for the people who you cannot get out of the request box, you're going to avoid. Okay, you're not going to reply, or you're not going to pitch them, because it's wasted effort, and you don't really have the the raw material for coming up with the data. Okay, which is, for how many people saw that pitch, you don't really know how many people saw that pitch if you if you line the request box, and there isn't really a way for you to know if in Instagram somebody saw the message or not, or if they just ignore it completely. And you're going to, in this ideal world, you're going to ignore those people, and just going to only pitch the people who you can get out of the request box, to have these data points, and also make sure that your effort is worth it. Okay, that is actually directed into somebody actually seeing the message. Now, I realize that if you are, reaching out to people like a customer, someone who is not a business, for example, I am reaching out B2B, business to business. So I'm reaching out to online fitness coaches, right? These people, because of the nature of the niche, I can very easily just tell them or ask them in the DMs, hey, is this the right place to ask questions? And they're going to say yes, because I could be a customer, right? But for example, for you, or for the way that I'm doing the outreach for Ethan, I cannot really tell, as I told you, hey, is this the right place to ask questions for a entrepreneur who has a business that is nothing online, right, or something like that. In that case, and the thing that the solution that I came up with is just taking the L and just doing it. Okay, just using your time and then just putting it there, because probably they will unfollow you. For example, a lawyer from Ohio, he's not going to follow you, fitness coach that just follow him, just he's not probably now going to follow you back, right? Some of them will, but probably not, right? So this person is probably not going to follow you back. And you send them a question like, hey, is this the right place to ask questions? This person is also not going to reply, because like, what type of question we're talking about, right? So the only thing that you are left with is just sending the Loom video or selfie video that we're going to talk about in a second, basically straight up, and missing that data point, which is an L, but sometimes things that you have to do for cold outreach to work. Although before we continue with the video, I want to say that in some of the instances that I've been doing the outreach, I have tried following people first, doing like following 50 people a day first, waiting about 2 to 3 days, maybe a week maximum, and then all the people who followed me back, now I send them the pitch, and now I know that they watch the they're guaranteed, like I know for a fact that they're going to see a pitch. And with that data set, or with that pool of prospects that I'm out of the request box, I can make the calculation of the how many people saw the pitch, how many from those showed interest, with that pool of prospects, because I know the data. I have the data to come up with this with these data points. But most of the times it doesn't really happen. Maybe 20% of people are going to follow you back, but not all of them. And at that point, you may as well just send the video like that. All right, so after you send the stimuli message, ideally it's going to be a video, a selfie video or a Loom video, but sometimes it could be a text, although I don't recommend it that much, because you're going to always find that a video or a selfie video is going to always have a higher response rate, which is really what we want. And we actually in a sense justify the effort you put on the selfie videos and the Loom video. Okay, so after you send the stimuli message, and before I go into that, let me just tell you an example of how a stimuli video could look like. Okay, so I'm gonna tell you right now the one that I'm using specifically for Ethan. So I'm gonna reveal to you right here the actual sauce. So let me just read to you out loud. So, hey name, I saw you're following X, Y, and Z. So from here, I would say Alex Gonzalez. It's awesome seeing prospect type. So in this case, I will be traders or people into trading, or if their profile says something like sales, salespeople, we just want to personalize this in the best way possible. Okay, so for example, let's say that this person says in the profile, the prospect that we're talking or we're recording the video to says, day trader or something like that, right? So we just want to say it's awesome seeing other traders or day traders crush it in, either life or business. I wanted to quickly record a video because I helped specific, prospect type get in the best shape of their lives in half the time they would normally take, right? So you are here actually showing the value that you have without really explaining anything, all right? And then from there, you're gonna say, I don't want to pitch you if you weren't interested, or I didn't want to pitch you if you weren't interested, but send me a thumbs up in the chat and I'll send you more information. Okay, so what this does is it's such a small message that is, about, well, let's say 15 seconds, more than 10 minutes, 20 seconds. No. And what you're going to do with this message is that, as I told you, it's just enough to for them to tell you, yes, I'm interested, or no, I'm not interested. Okay, and it's not so little effort that they just ignore it as a copy and paste message. Okay, now once you send this message, you're going to get a bunch of responses. Okay, either saying yes, I am interested, no, I'm not interested, or hey, this is an amazing outreach attempt, right? Those are usually the type of response that you're going to get from this type of outreach. Okay, ideally it's going to be a selfie video that is you recording it with a big smile, of course not psychopath style, but a big smile that show that you're pretty happy to be there. Like if you were talking to a friend that you haven't talked to in a while, and you're going to be holding it with your phone. Okay, not really with a tripod, because what we really want here is like a natural kind of theme here, and putting in a tripod, it's going to kind of kill it off a little bit. So we want to do this with your phone, holding it with your phone, okay, and keep it to eye level, stuff like that. Okay, I'm gonna put in a second a video example of how it looks like. Hello, everyone, how's it going? I saw you also following the one and only Alex Gonzalez. I mean, it's always cool to know guys crushing it in life, I wanted to quickly record this video because I am part of Ethan's team. He helps basically men get in the best shape of their life in half of the time they would normally take. So I didn't want to pitch you if you weren't interested in anything like this, but if you think this could help, just reply to this message with a thumbs up in the chat and I'll send you more information about this. Goodbye. All right, so when the people that reply to you saying that they are interested, or they drop a thumbs up in the chat, you're going to send a VSL, okay, a video sales letter. This is a piece of content basically that is designed to sell someone on what you have. Okay, so it shows the benefits, it shows the things that they are going to avoid by using your solution. It talks about the offer, it talks about the reduction of the risk. It's just basically a perfect video that is super compelling for them to say, you know what, like this is a great solution. Let me just, book a call and see, how it goes. Now, for me to tell you right now here how to do a, very good BSL, very decent, not perfect because I'm not an expert here, but to tell you how a very good BSL would look like, it just goes out of the scope of this video and it will just make the video extremely long, okay? And I want to make this more like this strategy, okay? So I'm gonna probably later on create another BSL or how to create BSL here for cold outreach specifically. But in the meantime, I'm gonna tell you right now I'm gonna let you in the screen the two scripts that I use, and you can basically take it to ChatGPT and say, hey, listen, please ask me questions so that you can actually personalize this BSL structure into my business. All right, so I recommend you the one that I did, although the second one that I'm gonna put on the screen is going to be for the Ralph, the business coach that I'm working for right now. Okay, I recommend you the one that I did because I practiced it more times, and I basically refine it more with the feedback that I was getting, but you can decide. So yeah, now for BSL you want to keep it a maximum 3 minutes. All right, if you're going to send it to a Loom link, although here's the thing that I'm that is almost like a top secret here, which is that if you really want to maximize the responses from your cold outreach, you're going to not send it to Loom. You're not going to create a Loom. It's going to be like kind of a Loom video style, but it's not a Loom, okay? So what you're going to do is create a video that is less than 90 seconds. It's a BSL, that is shorter than 90 seconds. And you're going to upload it directly in the chat so that they just have to click on the chat or on the video and watch it. They don't have to go through or click on the link, go to Loom, click on watch, because when they click on watch, they know that you're going to see that they saw the video. So you just have to put it on the chat, and it's going to be extremely easy for them to watch the video, okay, and consume that BSL. Now, even though 90 seconds is extremely short, or it sounds extremely short, it's actually pretty attainable if you do not ramble like myself I'm doing right now. But really, if you really condense this into the absolute minimum information that you can send, that still shares the information without needing to go to too much detail on how you do all of it, okay? So notice that the BSL that I did for myself, for my own, business, is longer than 90 seconds because I didn't have this hack back in the day when I was using this approach of the Loom video. But the Wrath is actually using it in, we kept it to 90 seconds maximum, okay? Now, after you send the BSL for the people who are interested, you're going to go for the next step, which is number 5, objection handling plus send the Calendly link, okay? So in this part, transparency is absolute key. You're going to realize that if people are not really interested in the program, they're going to be upfront. If people are interested in your program, they're going to start to ask questions. Hey, how you do it? Can you give me a breakdown of how you do this? What is the price of your solution, right? But if they don't ask you, if they are saying things like, fucking, what is this? Or, huh? Or, variations of that just don't show any type of intent, then you just see them and basically ignore them, okay? You put in your database, not interested, and that's it. But here, for people who are actually interested, who are actually asking you questions, you just have to say, the actual truth. You have to be transparent and saying, for example, a lot of the questions that I used to ask that I used to get asked were, hey, how much is, your appointment book? Or because I was selling here calls booked for fitness coaches, a lot of fitness coaches used to reply to me saying, hey, how much is the usual call that is booked? Just so I, can get an idea. And then I used to tell the price, and they were happy with it, and they book a call, okay? So it's really about transparency. A lot of people want to tell you that, no, you have to, hold on to the answer and not do it, and just say until you are on a call, on a sales call. And for that, I have just seen that the game is changing dramatically now, where people who are doing this type of strategies, they really do not perform really well. And most people would like to, hop on a call if you tell them the price first of all, right? And if it makes sense for your price, even though you're going to, lose some benefit of they're going to make a decision based on the price only, if your solution is big enough for them, then you are going to be able to, actually convince them to do this. So you're missing in some benefit here of, making them realize that the value they're receiving is much higher than X amount of dollars. But a lot of the times people are going to want, they will want to know at least a rough estimate. And that's kind of why I want to tell you, just say a rough estimate. Don't say 259, whatever, right? You want to say a number that is just, that is not exact, and that is just a rough estimate, so they can give an idea. And then you can just say something like, and listen, this is a very personalized program, so we don't really sell one size fits all type of program. So what we're gonna do is, I need to understand what is your solution right now, or your problem right now, what's your current situation, and based on that, I'm gonna tell you the price of the program, because we do this all personalized. So would it be worth it for a quick 20-minute, 15-minute, 25-minute call? Yes, no, you get the answer there. Now, after all that process, you're going to do the hardest part, which is number 6, following up diligently, okay? So here we're going to kind of have 2 ways of doing the follow-up. So number 1 is, if they did not reply to your stimuli video, you're going to follow up with them maximum 4 times, because if you start going for more and more and more, you're going to realize that you are probably going to get the prospect to get pissed off, okay? So we don't want that. We actually want to, if they're not interested, that's fine, right? If they actually ask you for more information with a thumbs up or saying, yeah, go ahead or whatever, you're going to follow up with them, minimum 7 times, because they show interest. Now, there's a good way and a bad way to follow up with people. I'm going to tell you the one that I would recommend you. Realistically, right now, it's not really good for the scope of this video because it's too long of the process, but I'm going to drop you right now a link in the description of the exact part of the video where I talk about this specifically. You can take a look at that and basically create your own follow-up sequence. All right, so this is the follow-up sequence, and now after checking all of this process, now you have the exact system that I'm using for this client myself, and that I'm gonna be documenting what is the results from that. Remember, you don't need to depend on that following, big following. You can also do ads. You can also do the cold outreach. It depends on what you want, or the part in your journey. And ideally, I would recommend you to start with cold outreach and content, and then ideally, you slowly go for ads as well. So yeah, hopefully it helps.